Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Thursday evening Louise Hay self-healing class broadcast from New York City. Good evening to everyone signing in, to everyone watching us on Facebook, on Twitter, YouTube. Any of you joining our YouTube channel, that's a great way to support the work we do here. So however you're joining us, you're welcome. Thank you. We also replay on Facebook 24 hours a day, YouTube, as I said, or whenever you're catching our broadcast this week. We're happy you're a part of this gathering. This is a place where we explore self-healing, self-love, and personal transformation using the wisdom of Louise Hay and the principles of religious science. Again, we gather this evening, every Thursday evening at 7. If you're listening to it later, please send us a message so you can be part of our broadcast on Thursday. If this is your first time, a special welcome to you. If you're here watching us on Zoom, you could send a note in the chat room and or we can welcome you later during our time of personal sharing. I'd also like to remind you that every Wednesday, James, our practitioner here, facilitates our creative living class. It's a gathering that's very similar to Thursday, and he will talk about practical applications to our New Thought spirituality. That's 7 p.m. The same Zoom links. And of course, here we are on Thursdays. You know what this is about. All of our broadcasts are made possible by you and your participation. Those of you who want to support us financially are welcome to do so. There's support options in the chat, on our website, and also on all the social media platforms. What we do here, we offer for free, though your contributions help us continue to bring these teachings to an increasingly larger audience. As always, there's no obligation. The main thing is you're here, and hopefully the information we are imparting is helping you grow and evolve and heal your life. Tonight's lesson, or this afternoon's lesson, depending upon where you're listening from, is entitled Crazy in Love, or I had an alternate title going this week, Crazy with My Own Life, Crazy in Love with My Own Life. And since recently we had Valentine's Day, we'll have a little bit of fun with this particular theme. Love is everywhere. I've heard that said throughout my life. This presence, this power is everywhere. But what is the most important love? The most important love is the love that we give to ourselves, the recognition that we are part of this energy, this love, and honoring it and waking to the realization that we are one with the one. So we're talking a little bit about loving ourselves more, which is appropriate for a Louise Hay theme. And as we think about love, whether you're in a relationship or you're single or somewhere in between, this class is about, the emphasis is about falling in love with you, falling in love with your journey and your growth and your incredible unfolding life. So let's get into it. We can start, as we usually do, with taking a deep breath to calm ourselves, to center ourselves, to open our hearts. And let's explore what it means to be truly crazy in love with ourselves and our own lives. Our life is such a gift, after all. So, again, good evening. Welcome to anyone who's signed in, since I welcomed everyone else. And whether this is your first time here, or you might have been with us now for many years, I'm glad you're here. This class is deeply personal to me. We've been presenting and studying You Can Heal Your Life now for decades. And every time I revisit the Louise Hay material, I'm reminded of the sheer power of self-love and the transformation that occurs as we increasingly learn to love ourselves, accept ourselves, and approve of ourselves. Let me take you all back for a moment. This book came out in 1984, You Can Heal Your Life, right? And just about a year later, at least for me, someone handed me a cassette of the book. There were no CDs, it was a cassette. And it wasn't meant for me, and yet the person I was going to give it to wasn't particularly interested in it. And I listened. and I liked it a lot. And interestingly, the street I was living on, the end of the street, had a big old Unity church, and it had a marquee. And it was about a week later, big black letters uh, on the church marquee was "You can heal your life." Now, you might call that a coincidence, but I've learned not to ignore what I call synchronicities like that. So very shortly after seeing the sign, I went in and I didn't immediately join the group, but I started to listen. And then I found myself going, because I was getting drawn in. It was very interesting. And I had been listening to the cassettes. And at that time, the world was in another pandemic. I don't know if anyone remembers how bad it was. It was pretty rough. There were people dying of AIDS. And I was involved a little bit in that kind of work, even in those early years. And there was no good medicine at the time, no treatments and no answers. So people were showing up increasing numbers every week, and I was witnessing the healing, the talk of healing, the demonstrations people were having following Louise Hay's work. And it became such a large group that there became two. We met twice a week, and it was really quite incredible. It had a big impact on me. So people were looking for hope. People were looking for healing. They were looking for something that could help them reclaim their power. And this book was one of the only things I saw making a real difference at the time. And before I knew it, I was increasingly involved in the work, teaching the material, presenting the material, learning, watching lives change, including my own. It just worked out that the lady who was presenting the material at the time was an attorney who got a much bigger job the other part of the state, about 3 or 4 hours away. And she asked me if I would facilitate it. And at the time, you've heard the story before, I'm sure, I didn't feel qualified. And she said, "You're more qualified than you know." She says, "You listen and you come every week." And I started doing it. And the rest of it's kind of history. It's kind of a long story and an interesting story, but that's for another time. So here we are all these years later, where I've been presenting this material week by week, year by year, month by month, year by year. And now it's decades later, and we're still exploring this wonderful teaching. And more than that, somehow or another, it led me to First Church, where Louise Hay herself became a practitioner, where she studied under Raymond Charles Barker and Dr. Grayson. And who could have ever known? Who could have ever predicted? I certainly could not have. And what it reminds me of is that life is always unfolding in ways for us that we never really can fully understand. So tonight, I'm asking you to trust the process of life and to love yourself more, to love, accept, and approve of yourself. I'm reminded of something Mae West once said, which I thought was funny at the time. She said, "I don't like myself." She said, "I'm crazy about myself." Now that is the energy we need to bring into our lives. Can you say that to yourself? Can you say it to yourself, "I don't just like myself, I'm crazy about myself"? That's the energy that we need to bring forth into our lives. Or if you want something a little bit more poetic, from Elizabeth Barrett Browning, she put it this way: "Love doesn't make the world go round. Love is what makes the ride worthwhile." That's quite beautiful. Love doesn't make the world go round. Love is what makes the ride worthwhile. And self-love is where it all begins. But let's be real, most people are not very good at this self-love. Louise Hay would say the bottom line for everyone she's ever listened to, she said, after you distill all the stories, get past everything, is people do not love themselves much, or they don't love themselves enough. And she said that's the story for almost everyone she's ever worked with. And even the people who seem like they love themselves, and the people who act like they are the most confident, they have some parts or aspects of themselves that whisper, I'm not really all that great, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not enough, or I don't deserve what I have, or I'm not lovable as I am. And if any of that sounds familiar, and it does to many people, I think it's somewhat of a universal thing, because we've all had a lot of programming from the time we're children. And we do our best to unload that and release it and replace it here, as most of you know. Louise often said, after listening to thousands of people share their struggles, she realized that the bottom line was always the same. There's this sense of dis-ease and not feeling quite okay. They didn't feel worthy on some level or good enough. So rather than telling ourselves what we should do, it would be really important of us to ask, what would happen if I simply embrace myself as I am? If we learn to love, accept, and approve of ourselves and embrace ourselves as we really are. So that's why tonight's class is important, so important, because if you take away one thing from this particular lesson, let it be this: you deserve to be crazy in love with yourself. You're a miracle. Just the fact that you had two cells that came together, there was a grand explosion, and this was the beginning of you in life. And you're a miraculous being, you're a divine being, and you're evolving, and you're growing, and you're learning. And you deserve to be crazy in love with yourself. So this isn't about any form of arrogance or ego. It's about learning to value yourself and your journey, to value yourself so deeply that you stop, so much so you stop looking for approval from others, and you stop waiting for permission to live your life, and you start living from a place of feeling really whole and complete and knowing your value. Week by week, I asked the question, what it's been like being you, because there is an inner dialogue that we all have, and I've called it many things over the years. And I say it's the most important conversation in the world, or I'll say it's the conversation that matters. For nearly 40 years, working with Louise material in religious science, there's one truth I've seen over and over again, and it's what I've just said. The most important conversation you're ever going to have is that ongoing conversation you're having with yourself. When I ask the question, what has it been like being you? I ask it not because I need to know your thoughts, but because I want you to reflect upon them yourself, to pay attention. What is going on inside of you, because all those thoughts are very creative. So this is what I call the conversation that matters. That's the conversation that matters the most. It's the dialogue that runs inside of you, shaping your life. It's more important than any gossip, any debate, or any small talk. It's the voice you find yourself listening to. It's your stream of thought. It's the voice you listen to every single day. If we are truly wise about how we approach life, we will pay close attention to this inner dialogue, because everything in it shifts. Everything you say shifts when you see, that dialogue is reflected. Your inner reality becomes your outer world. So everything in our life will shift when that dialogue changes. Miracles will happen. Healing will happen. Transformation begins. Louise would say it's only a thought or a series of thoughts. And you can change the thoughts. So let me ask you, are you ready? Are you ready tonight? Are you ready today to think about being more in love with yourself? Crazy in love with yourself. Crazy in love with your own life, where you can say, I love, accept, and approve of myself exactly as I am. And I release the need to think the negative things. I release it, and I replace it with something true, something positive, something beautiful, something wonderful. So this is what we are asking you to do, to fall in love with the most important person in the world, which is you. So let's get started, or let's continue rather. Let's take another deep breath. Let's know that this is your time. You might say, this is my time. This is your moment. So you could say, this is my moment. This is my time. This is my moment. So let's get into this work together. Let's do it by shifting the conversation. Remember, that's the work we do. Got to turn it around. Got to stop talking about them and what they're doing, because that's really the wrong way. The more important, the more empowering conversation is going to be about what you are thinking and what you're creating certain situations to be. Because you are the person that is, you're the author of your own experience. You're the person who's running your life. And I'm asking you this evening to consider falling in love with yourself. And as you do, your entire world changes. The power has always been yours. You've always had it. It's always been here. It's already here within you, waiting for you to recognize it and embrace it. You'll hear many of the Louise Hay audios will say, deep at the center of my being is this infinite something, this infinite well of love, light. It's in you, operating through you, and you have it, and you only have to inquire within and access it. We say in lesson after lesson, take that pause. Take the pause many times a day. Take that pause to refresh, to renew, to remind yourself. And then as you connect with it, create from that place of connection. We want to learn to live this teaching more, to live what we call the affirmative life, where we're seeing the God and the good in every encounter, in every situation. Ernest Holmes said it beautifully. He said, find me one person who is for something and against nothing, and I will find the Redeemer of my soul. Went on to say, find me one person who no longer has any fear of the universe, of life. Find me a person who is so free or freed themselves from the bondage of self, and I will walk with them as one who has found heaven. Ernest Holmes was describing the kind of person who's no longer entangled in the world of effects, a person who doesn't need to react, a person who just is unfazed, they're unflappable, they don't react to chaos or fear because they commune with this higher reality. Any of us, all of us, can live that way. So we can be unfazed by what's going on television, unfazed by all the sensational things that are going on in the world, because we're centered in this awareness of spirit. We realize that we're one with this one activity. So this is someone who lives with a deep awareness of the divine. This is a person who attempts to live in peace. This is a person who refuses to take things personally. Someone who moves through life with an unshakable trust in the intelligence of spirit. And they realize it's alive in them. And here's the thing I want to say to everyone tonight for this class about loving ourselves more and more. There is that which is within you that's alive and wonderful. You are an eternal being. You are a spiritual being. And you have that aspect of you that's eternal. It's living within you. So let's promise ourselves that we're going to take a pause more often and recognize and know that it's there. It's always been there. Now, I know many of you have been practicing this teaching for many years, and you know this. And for some of us, we're just awakening to it. Some of us are, attempting to stay awake longer. So we do our spiritual practices. It seems as though the entire universe is conspiring to get our attention. If you're showing up in a class like this and you're starting to connect with the material, it suggests that it's time. It's like you have an appointment. You're awakening. The universe is conspiring to get your attention, to shake us awake a little, to remind us of what has always been. Ralph Waldo Emerson, I noted for this class, he expressed it in a way that struck me years ago when he said, the dice of God are always loaded. What does that mean? Well, it means that everything's unfolding for us in divine order. We don't really need to worry about it. We can trust in the process of life. Nothing is really left to chance. The universe is not chaotic. It is precise. It's intentional. And it's intelligent beyond measure, beyond description. And when we trust in it, when we align ourselves with it, when we truly step into the flow of life rather than resisting the life, everything begins to change. So today we're again talking about trusting the process of life, and we're talking about loving ourselves more. So I ask you, what does it mean to be crazy in love with yourself? Well, it means knowing without hesitation that you are worthy. God doesn't make junk. Say, I love myself the way I am. It means having the ability to look in the mirror and instead of seeing what's wrong, looking in the mirror and seeing a being of light, a being of wonder, a being of possibility. As you look at yourself, you're looking at a divine creation. It means also no longer waiting for somebody else to validate you or to tell you that you're okay. It means connecting and knowing that you're one with the one, that you are an individualization of this spectacular energy. You are everything already. You are already everything. You don't have to do anything to earn love. You don't have to do anything to prove your worth. You don't have to prove anything. The moment you stop chasing and you start embracing, the moment you stop looking for love outside of yourself and beginning to embrace and love yourself, your journey, your evolution becomes magnetic to everything around you. Falling in love with yourself means trusting that everything in your life is happening for you and not to you. It means looking at the challenges and seeing every one of them as opportunities for growth. That's the consciousness of positive expectancy. It's like, okay, this is happening. There's a lesson in here somewhere for me. So we look to our challenges and seeing everything as an opportunity to grow. And then we look at the past. And when we look at the past, we see all the wonderful lessons they have brought you, the wisdom that has happened to you. And when we look at the future, seeing infinite possibilities that await. So this is having the deep, unwavering realization that you are one with the one, that you're up to the task, that you are more than enough exactly as you are. And you're knowing in this teaching that you are one with life, you are an individualization of God life, and that you are wonderful, you are whole, and you are complete. Louise Hay would say, again, deep at the center of my being is something wonderful. And I'm here in this particular gathering to remind you that you are not here by accident. Something inside you is awakening. You're important. Life itself is longing to express itself through you. There's never been another one like you, and there never will be. Life itself is longing to express through you. And for those of you who even have an inkling of this truth, I invite you to stay close and tune into it. Step away from the conversations that don't matter. Step away from the conversations that keep you looping around in ideas of doubt and limitation. You don't belong there anymore. Release the need for them. All of you who are listening and who listen this week are meant for something greater. We talk about a journey. So what we're doing here, we're taking a journey without a distance. Okay? This isn't about going somewhere new. This is about awakening to how great thou art. It's about awakening to who you already are. You may call it the law of cause and effect, or the law of attraction, the law of correspondence. It goes by many names, but it is the same principle. This law works perfectly every time. I used to, when I was younger, pray to a God outside of myself. I used to plead and hope, and then I realized that isn't how it works. So there's no need to look outside of yourself. The universe doesn't need convincing to love you. It already loves you. It's been supporting you since the very beginning. It's always been a part of you, never left you. So if you want something different, the answer is not to beg for it. The answer is to align yourself with it. You already have it. You are part of it. So let's align with this highest truth and know that you are one with this one life, this one spectacular life. Align with knowing that you are already whole and complete. Align with the affirmative life and start to practice positive expectancy at all times and in all things. Florence Scovel Shinn once said, "Your word is your wand." You are constantly creating with your thoughts, your beliefs, your words. So let me ask you, what are you speaking into the universe? What's that inner dialogue like? What are you speaking into life or bringing into life? Are you affirming struggle, doubt, fear? Or are you using your wand? Are you using your word, affirming joy, love, and infinite possibility? Because here's the thing to remember. What you allow in and what you continually repeat and say will continue. So if you're ready for something new, which I believe most of us are, we're willing to trade in the lesser for the greater. If you're ready for something new, it's time to let go of the stories, any and all that keep us stuck. It's time to drop any belief that you're not enough. It's time to drop any and all of that. Wherever you find yourself being critical of yourself, stop it. Say to yourself, I love, accept, and approve myself exactly as I am. Stop telling yourself that you're not worthy or you're not capable. And start beginning telling yourself the opposite, that you are worthy and you're capable and that you're wonderful and that you're crazy in love with yourself. Because all those other things simply are not true. So in this gathering, I'm asking you to begin to love yourself and claim your power, because you are the hero of your own story, whether you know it or not. The universe can't do anything for you that it can't do through you. So you need to expand your capacity to receive and give love. Again, you're the hero of your own story. You are the creator of your life. These are the good old days. So let's not wait for the future for things to happen. Realize the point of power is in the present moment. And I'm the hero of my own story. I'm the creator of my life. These are, in fact, the good old days. This is your time, and now is the moment to step into your power more fully. Let's affirm together. You can repeat after me if you like. I'm worthy of love exactly as I am. Again, I'm worthy of love exactly as I am. I release the past and I embrace my infinite potential. I release the past and I embrace my infinite potential. Life supports me and I'm open to all of its blessings. Life supports me and I'm open to all of its blessings. On another, I am the creator of my reality and I choose joy, love, and abundance. I am the creator of my reality and I choose joy, love, and abundance. This is the truth of who you are. So let's take a deep breath collectively and feel all of these ideas, these truths sinking in. And as we wind down for today, I leave you with this idea from Oscar Wilde. To love oneself is the beginning of a lifelong romance. Yes. So let's get crazy in love with ourselves. As Oscar Wilde would say, to love ourselves is the beginning of a lifelong romance. So now I'll do an affirmative prayer and then open up the floor for all of you. We want to begin this process. Many of you are on it already, because when you begin to fall in love with yourself, your entire world is going to change. And why? Because when you truly love yourself, you stop living in reaction to the world. You just release the need for all of it. You step out of resistance and you step into creation. You become someone who's no longer bound by circumstances. You become someone who sees past the appearances, who moves through life with the consciousness of a mystic. The world may spin around and around in chaos, but you, yes, you are unshaken because you've come home to yourself, where you know all is well. I have a final poem for you, a poem for the heart. And again, so asking you to be crazy in love with yourself. And here it is. I once searched for love in places untold, chasing approval, trying to fit a mold. I sought validation in every embrace, yet the love I longed for was in my own space. Then one day I paused, I looked in my eyes, and I saw a light shining, steady and wise. I whispered, I love you. And oh, what a thrill to know that the love I sought was in me still. Now I dance with my soul, unchained, unafraid, no longer in search of the love I once craved. For I am enough, as radiant as the sun, crazy in love with myself. My journey has begun. So there we are. And so it is. Brief call to action. I challenge you to practice radical self-love this week. Every morning, look into the mirror. Every afternoon, and say I love you. I really love you exactly as you are. And watch what happens. Watch how your world will begin to shift. So let's have our affirmative prayer, and then we're going to turn the cameras over to you. As we turn within, I'm going to do this in the first person. I recognize and I know that there's one power, and I know that I'm already whole. I'm a magnificent expression of love, power, and divine intelligence. There's nothing outside of me. There is absolutely nothing outside of me that completes me. I am already complete. I release the need for external validation, and I stand firm in the knowing that I am enough. I choose now to live in absolute love of myself. I honor my journey, my growth, and my infinite potential. I walk with confidence, I speak with love, and I see myself through the eyes of spirit. I let go of any worries or concerns that tell me otherwise. I embrace a new truth, a higher truth. I am radiant, I'm whole, and I'm free. And so it is. So now it's your turn. I want to hear what came up for you. I want to hear how you're learning to love yourself more, whether you're crazy in love with yourself. What came up for you this evening? And what does being crazy in love with yourself mean to you? So if you're new, please say hello, where you're from. This is a space for reflection. It's a safe space to reflect, to share your thoughts. We have a couple minutes usually for everyone. Your voice is important. It matters. Please join us on YouTube if you haven't already. And now we're turning over to you. So I want to hear from as many people as possible. Thank you.